aging with diabetes does not mean we have to suffer or to do without, for sure. So the visit I had wasn't warm and fuzzy, but it was productive. And I left feeling heard and validated, even despite the aging, menopause, weight gain fiasco. We can't expect every doctor to get all sides of us and understand all of us and what we're going through. But we can still show up informed, empowered, and collaborate. And to collaborate with our doctors. Again, they are there to help us. We just got to figure out at what capacity. And like in this case, how can we help inform them so that they can learn more about us to help not only us, but other patients. So it's a give and take for sure. Welcome to Type 1 in Midlife and Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Slemp. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 14, and I know firsthand how challenging midlife can be with the hormonal shifts, the insulin resistance, the weight gain, the fatigue, and the struggle to feel heard and supported. Women like us are often overlooked, and I'm here to change that. As a certified nutritional and hormone health coach, I created Abundant Health with Melissa, a coaching model, and this podcast to help you better navigate this stage with confidence. And each week, I'll bring you expert conversations, some practical tips and insights from my 40 plus years of living with type 1 diabetes. I'll also share how my faith helps to keep me grounded through it all. So if you're ready to feel empowered and supported, you're in the right place. And just a quick reminder, this podcast isn't medical advice. Always check with your doctor before making changes to your diet, insulin, or healthcare plan. Now let's dive in. Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. Before we dive into today's topic, I'm going to revisit a recent endo appointment that I just had. But before we dive in, please take a moment to follow the show. So just hit that plus button at the top wherever you are listening. iTunes or Spotify, you can do that. Leave a review and rate the show. I would love that. And take a minute just to do that. It really does mean a lot. It helps the show grow and to get in front of more people, which is the goal, to reach more women living with diabetes and to give them the support that they need, just like you. So again, I am happy you are here today. I had a recent endocrinology appointment, and and maybe you've listened to me here talk about this. It was just a little over a year ago, that I decided to jump back into a relationship with an endocrinologist. So for years, I was seeing my primary care physician, and, she was great, easy to talk to, relate to. She ran the labs I needed, and I really was self-managed, right? It's interesting. I was with some people at actually we do a T1D social here in Florida where I live. My husband and I, who also lives with type 1, and we host it once a month. We get together with some people here that also manage it, men, women, all ages. And this kind of came up, how years and years of managing type 1, there is definitely that feeling that we self-manage. We definitely lean on our doctors, need our doctors, but we know the best about how we're feeling, what we need. And that's really what the show is about too, is just to help you advocate and to give you a voice, and just to know that, we are not alone in this. And my community definitely serves that as well. So again, look at the show notes here. You can download a free guide, get on my email list and my weekly newsletter. Stay in touch with this upcoming book that I am writing, The Highs, Lows, and Hormones. So again, you get to stay in the loop on when that comes out. You get early access, and you get all that we're sharing in here every week. I love sending out newsletters with more tidbits and advice, and just sharing stories and relatable things that I know that you will love to hear and be part of. So be sure to do that. And there's also a link here to take advantage of the 14-day free trial. So again, you can come in and join my Type 1 and Midlife community. This is a membership style of group coaching that I facilitate. And again, check it out. Check out the link right here. If you got any questions, just send me message over on Instagram at Type 1 and Midlife. There's a common theme here with the name, isn't it? Good stuff. So I want to talk about my endo appointment. So it was actually a couple weeks ago. So, which is kind of good. Sometimes it's good to sit in it after you have the appointment, assess how it went. And there's a part of this that really needed to wait because, and I'll get into that why that it was good that I waited, because I was waiting for an additional test result to come back so that I could come in here and share about that. So again, I'm very transparent about my health and what I do, what I use, what works, what doesn't work. And that includes hormone replacement. You know, I'm a big advocate of that. I've been on HRT, again, estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone now for 6 years. I can't believe it's been 6 years already. And things are going well with that. So let's dive in. How do we let go of control? And while we're still opening up to the input, and knowing that this is part of the growth, again, we're talking about that relationship with our doctor, because you and I both know that we know our bodies well. Again, we definitely need the expert opinions from our doctors. We treasure their schooling, their education. And in most cases, the doctor I go to, the practice I go to has a full staff and they give you everything you need. I feel really, really lucky to have this, and it's close by. And it's something, again, I go twice a year now, and they're really in tune with watching my trends. They're hooked into my CGM. They use the Gluco app. Again, they're the practitioner that is kind of the back door of that, to follow that and obviously look at that while we're sitting and talking. So I really do appreciate all that information. That's something I'm not quite used to, right? Because again, when you go into a family practitioner or primary care, that sort of relatability and access to the data that an endo typically does have is really helpful, right? But this kind of goes into something that kind of points to this, okay? So all business, not too much bedside, not too much, warmth when it comes to most doctors. And that's just, maybe that's why I avoided going or getting reconnected with an endo's practice, was just, again, thinking that I had it all figured out. In essence, I did. My care stayed steady for many years, just going to a primary care doctor. But the reason I switched over, again, about a year ago and sought out an endo, and this was somebody close to me, some diabetes, some ladies in the community that were also seeing the same practice, the same doctor's office. So it was a good referral. So that's always good too, when we can ask around and see who they like and who they're having good success with. But I was curious. I was considering getting on an insulin pump, and I knew I would need some help and support around that. And of course, we need somebody that understands how to prescribe that. So that's just kind of part of the game we have to play with our doctors, is we have to go to the experts in order to get things, again, prescribed. And, the Omnipod 5 is, in my case, is what. And her office was very knowledgeable about the pump, immediately connected me with a pump trainer. And she was great. She got me on board easy, and she was accessible and all of that. So I like that relationship that was built from the very beginning. So I started to see this doctor in August of 2024. And we talked about the pump. I think she was shocked that I'd been 42 years still doing daily injections, but not pushy about being on a pump. We just chatted about it. And then fast forward, I was able to run into an Omnipod 5 rep at a conference here in Florida in October. And that's when I said, you know what, now's the time. I'm curious. I'm in a good place. My MDI management felt confident. I felt really good about my settings. That's really the perfect time, right? Just to jump over to another system with that same sort of a mindset and just feelings about what you got to do every day, right? What we have to do every day. So that was great. It all worked out. And I was looking for a fresh perspective. I wanted to be able to help my clients on a different level, being able to relate to them, being on a pump myself. And these are some things I talked to the doctor about too, just letting her know. But back to the doctor. So the relationship dynamic with our doctors is really interesting, isn't it? So her style, again, she's very knowledgeable. She knows the ins and outs of settings, pump, CGMs, all the tools that we use. So that's really refreshing. I never felt like I had to go in and really tell her what I was doing. She knew, she was knowledgeable enough to be pretty in tune with all that. But the office visits are very efficient and very on target. And again, she's going through the checklist. She's going through all of the physical exams, which I think is really good. Something I haven't been doing recently, just because again, there's a protocol with endos to check, making sure that we're going to our eye doctor, making sure that, our immune system is responding well. So all these things that should be happening in that visit with our endo is really important. And sometimes we can kind of lose sight of that when we are just seeing a primary care physician. So I was really happy about that. And she checked my feet. How about that? Haven't had my feet checked in a few years. And again, no reason to be apprehensive about that, or, there was no reason for it to be, top of the list of things to get checked, but that's, that really doesn't matter. So that was good. I passed the tickle test, basically. The one thing I note, and I remember talking to my husband about this later when I went home, is that when she was doing it, this is basically when you're sitting up on the exam table, your feet are out in front of you. And she's like, well, I'm going to be touching you softly with this. It was like a feather type of an apparatus. Just let me know what you feel when you feel it. And during it, I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. And I felt everything, I would say it as I felt it. But wouldn't it have been, again, this is just the way my thinking is, I'm always trying to think of better ways to maybe do these things. If she had asked me to close my eyes, because, you can look down and cheat and see that she's touching your foot and say, yeah, I feel that. But if she had said, close your eyes and raise your hand if I am touching your feet, that really to me would have been a better test. But anyway, in hindsight, it's just a little feedback. Maybe next time that might be something you bring up to your doctor. And I'd be curious if that's the way that they check your feet, how exactly they do that, just to just to confirm that, that we have feeling, there is no nerve damage in our feet and, in our limbs, which can be something we definitely have to keep an eye on. Okay, so the foot test. Yes, I did like that. That was cool. And I went into this appointment. Okay, I'm going to start on the high end, the good end, because, this is what appointments are. They come in, they look at your data, they look at your time and range, look at your A1C. Isn't that seem to be the top thing that they're looking at? So the wins that I had, which I'm happy about for sure. So my A1C compared to So my prior appointment with her was, I want to say it was March or April. So it was about 6 months earlier. So I was at 6.4 with an A1C. And on this time around, I was 6.1, which great improvement. And I know exactly why that happened. I really do, because I was struggling in those 3 or 4 months starting on the pump. And if you remember, I was in the auto mode for a long time, trying to make that work. And my averages overnight and early morning were above my target range. So that target average of say 150, 160, this is milligrams per deciliter, it was pushing my A1C a little higher. Again, it's in retrospect, 6.4, 6.1, they're both good numbers, definitely acceptable for somebody like myself, 43 years with type 1, no judgment there. But improvement was seen and felt because, again, I didn't have the frustration of dealing with those morning highs. And the Omnipod 5 has that 110 threshold. So once you get near or at that number, it pauses your insulin delivery. And I was never used to that. I've always been used to, and really my goal is to be between 90 and 110. That's a good safe number. I like to sit there. I feel good. I know that's a good average, again, to keep our A1C in the high 5s, low 6s. Again, that's always been my target. And I have a lifestyle, generally speaking, most days of the week that can support that A1C. Again, this is not comparison. I'm just here sharing what my journey has been and what my, really what my expectations are and what I'm working towards. Okay. And again, speaking of work, that doesn't come up in our endo's office either. They don't typically ask how are you doing? Oh, your A1C went from 6.4 to 6.1. How do you think that happened, right? Again, this is another part of being in a community like we have or working with a coach like myself. We get to have those conversations to really unpack what's changed, what's different, what's working now, what's working better, without having any sort of stress around it or pressure around trying to get there every day. Because since switching over to the manual mode, and I'm going to let you know what her response on that was here in just a minute. This is my doctor. I was feeling stressed. My cortisol was higher. My average blood sugar was above range for me, and that didn't feel good. I felt like I was bolusing, a lot of correction bolusing, trying to correct that pause in insulin that was happening throughout the day a little bit, but really more so at night. So that's an observation for me. So when I told her I was in the manual mode, she really didn't have a response. I felt like I wanted to validate it and to affirm this is my choice. It's interesting that she did not tie that to the lower A1C. Again, these are things I can talk to you about. These are things I can talk to other people in the community about. Definitely within my group coaching circle, these are things that we chat about and share. And it's just interesting. It's that disconnect with our doctors. Again, most doctors. I'm only speaking from the relationship that I currently have with this new endo that I'm seeing. Lots to praise. But again, I think it's just being mindful of what we will get when we show up for a visit and what we probably won't get when we show up for a visit, and just being okay with that, just feeling okay with that, and knowing that there are some other ways that we can get the support and seek out help and ask questions. So just one of those things, isn't it, about living with this disease? And it's constant. And, we don't have any sort of variation from what we have to do every day. So my expectation, again, when I was going in, I had other things going on. I see another practitioner for my hormones locally where I live. And I just saw her a week prior. So I was getting all this done at the same time as far as my labs and the information, observing what's changed, what's different. My hormone levels looked great. So again, my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they were good. They were all dialed in. Everything was going good. My gut health has been better than ever. Just a year ago, a little over a year ago is when I had the skin rashes, the eczema, the psoriasis that was just erupting. Again, something else doctors don't point to: inflammation and gut bacteria issues, which is what I had. And the only question that she asked when she was going through all the medications that I was on the prior year, the medicated creams, the steroid creams, all these things that I was prescribed by a dermatologist is, oh, are you still taking that? Is that still something you have to use? And I'm like, no, not anymore. The gut is healed. And that was obviously treating the symptom of my skin rashes as I was transitioning into that healing process. But again, there's that disconnect, not putting where I was, where my health was, where my gut health was, and those symptoms I was experiencing, and how obviously those creams were temporary. It's not something that I need or will continue to need, as she's going through my prescription list and asking me if I need refills. And I'm like, absolutely not. Happy to say I don't need refills. So one of the things, again, that prompted this, well, obviously this was a checkup. This was my biannual checkup with the labs, all the things we got to do with the labs, was I have been just slowly just kind of gaining a little bit of weight. So unexplained. Again, I've checked all the boxes with everything else, my routine. And this is a common thing, right? We say, hey, I'm doing all the things. Why am I putting on, in my case, 8 pounds? And it was slow. So within the last 3 or 4 months, it's mostly around the middle, just feeling a little puffy and inflamed. There's the word, inflamed. So what else is causing that? So talking with her about that and some of the things I'm feeling, again, symptom-wise, a little less energy. Sleeping has been okay, thank goodness. And we know how related sleep is to insulin sensitivity and how we feel and all of those things. But I was just feeling like I wasn't as strong during my workouts. Again, I would mention I just felt a little thicker around the middle of my waistline. So explaining this to her, and I went in with this, well, this is what's happening. I would like to find out why it's happening. If you have any ideas, I was giving her the opportunity to maybe come up with some ideas. And of course, as a doctor, they are looking at levels. I'm a big believer at looking at what's going on in the body, other systems, other hormone levels that could be driving this weight gain. So she suggested the full thyroid. And I did get that done by the other practitioner. So I did go ahead and get that done. So I had those results with me at the doctor that day, talking to the endo. And the one thing that didn't happen, unfortunately, is the full panel was not run. So I only had the TSH, and I think they ran the antibody. But again, the T3 and the T4 was not part of that lab draw. So she insisted. She's like, yeah, this is definitely, we got to get all the tests done. We've got to see the full picture of the thyroid just to see if maybe that is why I'm putting on a little weight. Again, the thyroid gland is really the master gland, and it does affect, again, the energy, and it can drive inflammation, and it can definitely add weight over time. So that's what we did. So I ended up walking out that day with just a partial picture. So I didn't have the full picture, really what my thyroid was doing, but she agreed that we would look at that and that we would just go back and forth with messages on the portal. So I wouldn't have to come back for another visit, thank goodness, that she was willing to run the tests and that she would give me her evaluation via my patient portal. Good news there. And another one that she wanted to run was my DHEAS, which is that's part of the hormonal system, and it's linked to testosterone. So, and I understood why she wanted that one tested, because testosterone, excess of testosterone can also put on weight. But I wasn't feeling that kind of weight. It's funny how we just know something is just different. I still felt like it was maybe a water retention. Maybe it was just the puffiness, inflammation. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on it either, but I was thankful that she was willing to talk with me through this. And together we came up with some ideas, some tests that we can run to either confirm or rule out what's happening with my body. So I like the fact that, number one, that she was listening, that I was able to advocate for myself and just search for answers, because we do deserve that. And I will say I'm very thankful to have a good health insurance policy. And it's not perfect. We kind of have a high deductible, but the care is really good. I have a good network of doctors that I can see. Many of my lab tests that I ran are covered by my insurance. So really thankful. I don't take any of that for granted. I know many of you may stumble with that, or not stumble, but may have struggles with that. And I know how much that causes more stress. It's interesting. I got a bill a couple months ago from Quest, the lab that we get our labs drawn on. And it was like a $700 bill. I was like, whoa, what's this? These are tests that I've always had done. Why is it suddenly not covered? So again, that took time on the phone. I had to figure out why. And it turns out my prescriber actually typed my birth date in wrong. So instead of 7/10, they wrote July 1st. And all I needed to do was correct the birth date because they didn't recognize me as a patient on the policy. So in retrospect, it's good that they're auditing it that way and that they're making sure it was me that got the labs done and not somebody else. But again, it took a phone call. It took a little bit of advocating to get that cleared up and obviously save me some money. So bravo for that. So I left the visit that day feeling pretty good. Again, my A1C came down. She took about 25 minutes sitting with me, not only doing the physical exam, but talking through all that I had just mentioned. And we did talk about my settings, and she did not try to talk me out of the manual mode. I think I really did communicate how well it's working. I think she saw the proof in my, my averages and my trends that there was no reason, I think a lot of doctors they're kind of trained the way the pharmaceutical and these insulin pump companies and all of that want them to know and to advocate for, on Omnipod 5. It's rare to be using that manual mode. I'm definitely, again, I don't know the stats. I don't know how many of us are doing the manual mode, And if you are, send me a message. I would love to hear what your experiences is. And we talked through my settings, my basal rate, and I did tweak a few things just to kind of ease it up a little bit because I'm waking up a little low than I need to be. So again, easy things to do. And she was very hands-on at doing that, showed me how to do it, reminded me how to get inside the pump settings and to do that. So really, really happy about that. So yeah, I walked away feeling heard. Now, on a side note, when I did, and I didn't even mention this, is really actually the, kind of the point of this not understanding us as women and what we're experiencing is the disconnect with hormones. So when I was explaining to her about my weight gain, she knows I'm in menopause, and her response was, well, you're getting older and you are in menopause. Like, what do you expect? It's going to happen. And that's when I went down the road of explaining all the things that I am doing. I had to reiterate that I am on hormone replacement, that did make the difference when I was having these same symptoms back in the day in perimenopause days. This was before I had started working with her as a doctor. So again, the conversation kept going around like that. But I think she got the idea that, yeah, I do know my body. I understand my body. And again, hormones may be part of it as we continue to look into this. And my thyroid, just to give you the end result. So this came back just about 4 or 5 days ago as I'm recording this. My thyroid is in good levels. So, and I had a chance to look at those as well because I like to look at my own labs, just like I look and observe my clients' labs just to give them some feedback and some things to look close at, understand what we're looking at and what it means and when to ask further questions. So like she said, the feedback she gave me and looking at them myself, yeah, my thyroid looks good. There's no reason that would be causing me some weight gain. So here we are. The only other little thing that I have done just to adjust, again, I am just trying to take a step back, relax, take more deep breaths. So I'm trying to follow my own advice that we give here on the show and just enjoy life a little more or a lot more. So I have been working on doing some more outside activity, enjoying nature. We just got back from a trip in Tennessee, my husband and I, just enjoying just the beauty that God has created and that we get to take time to soak up, enjoy, and help nourish us again from the inside out, because everything starts with our thinking and our relationship with ourselves, relationship with this disease, and to just breathe through that. So I think there's this misconception that I am on here and that I know it all, that I do everything perfect. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth, because just like I shared with you, there are doctor visits and lab results that I have to ask questions about as well. We're all works in progress and we're always learning, adjusting, and then we're learning some more and adjusting some more. So that's life. And that's definitely life with diabetes for sure. Yes. So I hope this has encouraged you. And my upcoming book is going to have, again, one of my contributors is Dr. Vanessa Severo. And I'm so excited because not only does she specialize in hormone health and menopause care, she also lives with type 1 diabetes, so she gets it. So her perspective and not only her education and her expert advice is obviously going to be in the book, but she's also going to be sharing about these doctor visits. And she herself, a doctor, knows how important and what we should be doing, giving us advice around that doctor visit and how to advocate for ourselves. I think that's the number one thing that we can do. And this is what this book is going to do. It's going to give you that guide that you can have from here until there might be a cure. We don't know about that, but we'll see if that happens in our lifetime. But just that guidebook, because hormones impact everything from our first menstrual cycle all the way until we leave this earth and all that's happening in between. And that's the purpose of this good book, is to give you that information that you can rely on and lean on and further your conversations with the doctor and to get what you need, to not settle and to not be told, well, you're getting older. It's part of aging. You're going to gain the weight. You're going to start to feel lousy. No, it doesn't have to be that way. And we can influence those decisions the best we can and to rewrite the script, right? Because aging with diabetes does not mean we have to suffer or to do without, for sure. So the visit I had wasn't warm and fuzzy, but it was productive. And I left feeling heard and validated, even despite the aging, menopause, weight gain fiasco. We can't expect every doctor to get all sides of us and understand all of us and what we're going through. But we can still show up informed, empowered, and collaborate and to collaborate with our doctors. Again, they are there to help us. We just got to figure out at what capacity. And like in this case, how can we help inform them so that they can learn more about us to help not only us, but other patients. So it's a give and take for sure. It just didn't seem like the right timing. I'll probably bring her a copy. So something she can share with her patients and something she can open up and learn more about, again, how impactful hormones are with the day-to-day management as we're aging. So just a takeaway today too. So I'm going to encourage you, before your appointments, to track your symptoms. I think it's really important. That's what I did with my weight gain issues or questions, but looking at your energy levels, new things that you're feeling that didn't make sense the last time you saw the doctor, and being mindful of your sleep, your mood, how your relationships are. I know we're not always going to get that warm and fuzzy feedback from the doctor about life with diabetes and what we really have to go through every day. But see what you can do with that. See if that can be part of your conversation as you're looking at that A1C, and if you can share on any sort of level with them about how it is for you to manage every day, and just to kind of open up that space with the doctor. I think it's real important. Another thing to consider is the labs. Are they running all the labs that you think you need to run? Again, this is all within context of where you are, your age, if you have maybe other autoimmunes that you are being medicated with. Something that is really coming up with even friends that I have that are on thyroid medicine is that they've been on the same dose for years, which, okay, well, maybe it worked when they were first diagnosed, but are they looking at the full panel? Even though you're on thyroid medicine, the doctor just prescribes it and says, okay, you're good to go. But things change, hormones change, life changes, stress changes, and that impacts our ability to utilize that medicine. And again, to help our thyroid and to reach those optimal levels. So pay attention to the symptoms and don't be afraid to ask for more help, or in this case, a full thyroid panel and or any other test that might better serve kind of painting the picture on really what's going on with how you feel. And celebrate the progress. I came in here and I celebrated, hey, I'm at a 6.1, and how much, believe it or not, having a lower A1C is actually reducing my stress. It is not something that is causing me more pressure or commitment. Have my hands on what I'm doing with my settings and my choice to be in manual mode as opposed to auto mode on the Omnipod 5, and celebrating that it's working. I've found a way to do it. It's working now. We'll continue to monitor it. We're always assessing and, just kind of getting that feel for it. So again, there is no perfect anything or delivery system or, whatever, but just celebrating where we are and celebrating all the work that we are doing every single day, every hour. And just a reminder, if you need a community to help you better guide your doctor visits, you need a space to come in to talk with other women, my type 1 and midlife community is a perfect place to start. And you can come visit a group session. We meet on Zoom every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you decide to come join us, check us out, you can join the membership. That could be your next step, but just come in, say hello, meet the ladies, and see what you learn. And here's what to expect in our weekly flow. We also have a group messaging. It's kind of like a chat box. And on Monday, we have a check-in, and there's always a kind of a point around not only the practical steps of managing diabetes and menopause and hormones, but also the emotional attachment that goes with that, and just staying motivated and reflective and learning as we're going. And we do this in the community. So we do that intention, setting that intention on Monday morning. Then we have a midweek insight, kind of a check-in, checking in with myself and just kind of looking at our mindset. And again, there's weeks that we have more to say, but just knowing that the community is always there when we need each other. And then Friday is our reflection day, just looking back at the week. It's just a gentle moment to celebrate your progress, not trying to chase perfection. We're just observing where we are, what we need. And again, it's not, the community needs you just as much as you may need the community. So that I think is the best thing that we have going for us is you realize how many other women can help you, but how much you can help them because we need each other. We can't do this disease alone. And, the structure of the group, it's very light, it's positive, it's actionable, and it's grounded in self-compassion, not only for ourselves, but one another, especially when life and glucose feel unpredictable, right? So just something to leave you with today. Our doctors don't define our care. We do. We really do. But having a relationship with our doctor where we can be both honest and curious and proactive makes all the difference. You've got this, and we are here for each other. I hope this has filled you with hope and that you have an action step. So come visit me over on Instagram again, or hop over to my website and say hello. I look forward to hearing from you, and tell me about your next endo appointment or your past endo appointment, and what your experience is, what your hopes are for that relationship with your doctor, or maybe you're searching for a doctor. That might be something else that might be new on your plate, but come share with us. We would love to hear. And you have an amazing day. I appreciate you being here, and to share this show with other ladies and the type 1 diabetes community. And until next time, bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Type 1 in Midlife and Beyond podcast. I'm so grateful for the time we spent together today. And if this conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to take a moment to leave a rating and review. Your feedback helps us reach more women who need this community and support. And if you're realizing you need more support, remember that you don't have to do this alone. Visit me over at abundanthealthwithmelissa.com for free resources on managing type 1 diabetes and menopause, and to learn more about me and my coaching programs. We'll be back in here next Monday, so make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. Together we can navigate midlife and thrive with type 1 diabetes.